good afternoon or good evening to everybody. I am here this afternoon with Gary, Galactic Gal and Asita. Hello there, you two.
Hey.
Yeah.
It's been a while since we last spoke, right?
Yeah, ages since we've met up. Yeah, sorry, ages since we've met up.
Well, the last time I saw you, it's definitely the first lockdown. It's the last time I saw you guys.
Oh, in the park. We didn't you come on the last one, Asita? We went on last March with Gary. With that, there was a policeman there and everything. Weren't you there for that one? Last July.
No, this is where I sort of bounced out of the whole protests and marches and stuff. The last one I went to was March. Yeah, March.
Right.
And then after that, I just, for me, I just kind of took a step back because I just started noticing weird patterns, behaviors, and a lot of contradiction from supposed people that were kind of leading the marches, leading certain movements, a voice for the people.
I find this really upsetting when you said that, because obviously we called them freedom marches.
Do you know what? I think initially
they obviously weren't, were they?
No, I think originally they really were in the first lockdown, and then something just happened.
People hooked on, and then they controlled it.
I don't know. It's tricky to say whether it was even controlled from the start or it got hijacked at some point. I think
it got hijacked later on, Asita. I think first of all it was okay, but maybe later on. I mean, that march that me and Karen went on, there was over 1 million people there, Karen, wasn't there?
Yeah, we reckon it could have been 2 million. There were so many. It just stopped London for about an hour and a half. Everywhere they went, everything stopped for about an hour and a half. So I don't know. They just, because it's not advertised anywhere. You're just going. Well, it's advertised, but not on the media. So you're going. You don't know how many people are going to turn up. And me and Gary were quite shocked. We were like, "Wow, there's loads here." But how many people were there? We don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to quite a few where we had a lot of people, over 1 million that turned up. But again, it was the direction of where we were going. We were mostly protesting in areas which was dead, the City of London. And during the weekend, nobody's there because it's all businesses, corporations, banks, and only the super rich that live in the area. So for me, I just, once you've done that sort of march the first, second, third time, you start to notice, like, something's not right. And I don't know if you guys went to the one in November, the 5th of November. It was the one at night in London. Did any of you guys go?
No, I didn't go to that one.
Okay, that was fun, but the ending was very weird. They ended up like cornered off the bottom of Tottenham Court Road. You know where the station is? There's a junction. There's a junction where you can either go Soho or you can go north towards Camden or Old Street, vice versa. And the march started off in Trafalgar Square. It kind of led through, going round and round in circles, all the way across central London, basically. And then it ended up in Tottenham Court Road. This is where it started getting a bit brutal. I documented this one, but it started getting a bit brutal. And then all of a sudden, I'm just standing here and I see there's about 50 protesters just for some reason sitting in the middle of the road outside Tottenham Court Station. And I just thought, okay, I need to move. I just need to start walking for some reason because I could see the TSG all stood in a line. And then next thing I know, they've basically blocked off these protesters from moving anywhere. And you'll see it, you'll watch it.
So they liked funneling you down street because they knew they could block the ends off and capture everybody or capture people in the roads. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, because it just felt like carnage. There was a lot of chaos going on. I'm just kind of stood there like, I don't even know what to film. Because I looked to my left, someone's been arrested and pinned on the floor. I looked to my right, people are being chased over there. It was carnage, and very confusing. So you'll see it. There's a moment I'm stood there with the camera and I'm just not really specifically filming anything because I'm looking around and seeing like what's happening here. Something's happening, and then within seconds I just move. Like I start walking forward, and then next thing I know, there's like a line of police calling off people, stopping them from leaving that section. And then they were kept there all night. All of them got arrested and questioned, but it was like they didn't do anything wrong. There was nothing major that happened for all of those people to be kept in that section all night, freezing cold.
Except the law isn't it, is that we can only be a certain number of people in public, and after that it's illegal, isn't it? That's the thing.
Yeah, haven't they changed the law now that where you can't have group gatherings anymore, can you? There actually is a law, there's a statute gone through where there can only be a limited amount of people, and I think, like the Patriot Act in America, I think they're gonna use it to their advantage, you know?
Yeah, but then, you know, why are all these other protests that are getting bigger numbers at times allowed to go ahead, you know?
The thing is, they couldn't do nothing. The march that me and Karen was on, they had to just stand back, didn't they, Karen? Because there's just too many of us. They couldn't do it. If it's manageable, they will try and manage it. But that was unmanageable because there was just too many people. They just weren't expecting the numbers that turned up. It was well over 1 million, that's for sure.
Oh no, I mean, I don't know. I've just never seen them do that move, that specific kind of move where they cornered off people in a specific place and they weren't allowed to move.
I kind of saw that on the videos, to be honest. I saw a bit of that on the videos myself when I was watching them.
Yeah, I'll send you the link. So it's the one on the 5th of November, and it's towards the end. You'll just see a lot of carnage, and then I'm just stood there, and then, yeah, these people just got sectioned off. Roxanne actually was in that pile of people. You know, Roxanne Glenn from the Really Book Show? Yeah. So she was part of that. They did arrest her, but then they arrested her like 7 or 8 hours later. So, yeah.
Well, she was lucky then, wasn't she?
Yeah. I'm not sure everyone got that, but if you know your rights, you can easily get away with it, because I don't think it was right what they did.
Yes, because you've been saying to Gary that you're not that much interested in the marches anymore for this reason, isn't it, Asita?
Yeah, I mean, even, did you guys ever go to lockdown? Lockdown.
Sorry, say that again.
Did you go to lockdown? Or have you heard of it? There was a little movement, 2021 summer, Shepherd's Bush.
I don't think I did.
No, I didn't go with that. No, I didn't go.
Yeah, that was interesting as well. I think there was a really good intention to start off, because basically the core of the group came from Manchester. These guys were up north doing a drumming circle every Sunday, playing music. It's more like a nice little, like a mini festival sort of gathering for, you know, children, face painting. They even did one where there was different healers. You know, there was food, music, you know, something uplifting for the community, and they did this throughout the whole of lockdown, every Sunday. And some of the movement, or a few of the people from various movements, decided to go up to Manchester and connect with them.
Oh, I think I kind of remember that. Yeah, carry on.
Yeah, so they went up to Manchester, and coincidentally, I happened to be there that day. And yeah, again, it was a very fun day, really enjoyable. Next thing I know, this group was coming down to London to camp, like physically camp there and occupy a space. And I thought, brilliant, you know, this is what we need, especially in London. A lot of people will come along and join. But that was far from the case. It was quite the opposite, actually. And I think the first few weeks, or the first 2 weeks, everything was really great. They had managed to build a base. You know, they had a kitchen.
One second. Sorry, my computer's just putting messages through now, so I'll Sorry, my computer started putting things through, so I just thought I'd stop it, but carry on.
No, that's okay. So I was talking about lockdown.
Yeah.
So yes, I don't know if do you know AJ, the big guy boxer, mix.
What, Anthony Joshua?
Hmm?
Anthony Joshua.
I don't know if that's his full name, but I just know him as AJ. He's a really big, tall guy, muscly. He does boxing, dreads.
Yeah, that's Anthony Joshua. I mean, because I follow boxing. I mean, that was one of my vices. I still enjoy a lot, you know. Unfortunately, he lost his last bout. But yeah, go ahead.
Did you see him in the movement?
No, I never see him anywhere. I mean, it'd be hard to miss, wouldn't he? He's about 6'6", 6'7".
Okay, I'm gonna have to send a picture because I'm not sure we're talking about the same. Might be. I mean, he was quite a well-known face, but anyway, he was the one who managed to convince the guys up in Manchester to come to London and establish a base, and they did, and it was amazing. I just thought like this was never going to kick off, and it did. So it brought quite a lot of people together, but unfortunately it also brought in a lot of the homeless people, a lot of the people with addictions. People used it as a spot to party and pretty much, have something to do during the lockdown. And there was a division in the camp because the guys up in Manchester they've healed and worked on themselves. They're at a different mindset of what they want moving forward, which is a community build. A lot of people are yearning for this, which is alternative living, independent living off the state and off any corporation, if you want. So that was the vision that they had coming down here, and they got the opposite, which was more like a rave party campsite, and it destroyed a lot of people's morales. A lot of people's spirits were dampened from that, and I don't blame a lot of them for going back and leaving. After months and weeks of no sleep, at some stage you're going to give up when your vision isn't going anywhere.
Or maybe what it was is that really the groups were out for different reasons than what was happening, if you know what I mean.
Well, that again is true. People had different motives. Unfortunately, a lot of people wanted to just party. It was like, okay, cool, let's march and go do make our voices heard, make our statements heard. But at the end of it, it was like, okay, let's, have a rave up afterwards. And for me, that didn't fit in with my narrative as to why I was there. I wasn't there just to document. I was also supportive of the movement, or supportive of a lot of what people were feeling, if that makes sense, against everything that was happening during lockdown.
I think that always happens, though, isn't it? Other people join anyway. I remember when we were at one march, I think that's when, well, basically, they were saying that you couldn't be with anybody unless you were living with them. That was their point of breaking people up. So that was the day when you were Gary's wife. And that was
yes, I was Gary's wife for the day.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you were my wife.
And it wasn't good enough or something or whatever. But that day that was a really weird day. That day the marching in the background was for the black rights, wasn't it? That was also going on around. So it was like lots of different marching things going on together.
Mm.
Do you remember that or don't remember that?
No, I remember. There was quite a few times where, not even I'm just going to call it the freedom movement for reference. Whenever the freedom movement wasn't like doing a rally or anything, I'd still go out, on my wheel and see if there's anything else going on. And a lot of time I would catch BLM and like the Pakistan movement or like Islamic movement or something movement happening simultaneously, and it's like I even remember at some stage both of them clashing as they were heading towards Whitehall, and I thought, this is so bizarre. Like, what were they expecting for them to clash and have a fight? It felt like it was being orchestrated to have a reaction, but they didn't get what they wanted. There was even one BLM protest that I followed throughout the whole day. And again, in my footage, I exposed that they weren't even using real police. because of the uniforms weren't even they were like overalls basically with no badges, but all they
Really?
had
So
was the
like security, just basically.
I wouldn't even call them security. If you take the helmets off, they look like a bunch of people that are going to the mines to work, or like working in a mechanic shop or something. They were wearing blue overalls.
To do your car.
So bizarre.
Yeah.
So bizarre. And I just remember being stood in the middle of all of this, and I thought, what the hell is going on? And when you go to enough of these rallies, various different types, you can see exactly how it's orchestrated. And you can also see the indifference that the police have with each movement, how they allow, maybe XR, BLM to have their rallies. No issues, no, they'll even give them an escort to make sure that they get from A to B safely. But then completely destroy a different movement, physically assault, make people bleed, arrest people, all sorts of...
I actually see that, I've made quite a few videos about this in the past, that generally people are quite narcissistic generally, but even though they're narcissistic, they're not nobody's really violent, which is a good thing. So, yeah, that's what I see. So people are quite peaceful when they're out.
Do you know something? I think Asita was right. I think certain groups within a big group are targeted. You know what I mean? It's like they plant people in there. Obviously, we've known that for a long time. A lot of these marches, they've just planted people in there. They're like vigilantes. I mean, you can spot them a mile off because they just look completely out of place. When we used to go over across the coffee place, I used to sort of like spot them. Sometimes they used to roll up in an unmarked van, like, and get out, and you could see like that they was like that they had been planted there to just sort of like stir up aggravation and trouble, obviously.
Yeah, or to lead certain things. But the one good thing I can say is I never saw anything erupt like crazy during the times I was filming. Anyway, I saw a lot of police brutality, but I never saw the crowd ever going too extreme to the point that it was like.
I think they wanted it. I think they wanted to see masses of fighting so that they could say anarchy and then they could bring in martial law. That's what I think they were hoping for.
But it never happened.
They really did. Happened. They really wanted it to happen because, like I say, you can't. I don't believe in coincidences anymore, and I've seen enough of the patterns to see that. A lot of it was orchestrated to have a mass riot, really, or whatever. I don't know. Carnage in the streets, but like, was it the 2012 riots that happened in Brixton or that area from the Mark Duggan? Someone got shot.
2011, I think it was 2011 because I remember I was watching it. Yeah, I was watching it in a pub in Potter's Bar, and you see it like they burnt down a shop down in Croydon that I used to deliver to like about 35 odd years ago. There was a shop on the corner, Randall's or whatever. I can't remember their name now, but they've been there for about 100 years or so. That, but you never know whether any of these things are true because he might have been losing money. Like he wanted his place burnt down and get the insurance money. It's a terrible thing, but people do this kind of stuff,
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people will just take advantage of the situation and be like,
the situation, exactly. Yeah.
I think that they were hoping for something like that, but 10 times bigger.
I did see the video where there was a bit of rowling, and that kind of turned me off a bit because this person didn't really do anything, and then this policeman came in and he did things, and then afterwards the messages were going, "Oh, that was all planned" and all that, and I'm like, oh, but it looked quite aggressive. And we're not. Well, none of us were aggressive. We're not aggressive people.
But even still, like again. Not just myself. So many people have managed to capture footage. I'll send you the clip because I did a little edit breaking this one down. But I wasn't there for that specific march, but you'll see that all of a sudden, when there's about 10 policemen surrounding one person who's just been arrested and they're marching to the van, to put the person in the van, right? So you'll see, all you see in this footage is just these legs shaking up and down, and a supposed body being surrounded by about 10 to 15 police. They go through like a little hurdle of alternative journalists, if you want. But what's so funny is these alternative journalists, you can see them faking being shoved into the wall. Like if you slow the footage down, you'll see that this guy didn't even get touched by the policeman, but he, for whatever reason, is pretending that he just got shoved into the wall.
I think they do. I think the media do it all the time because you know the bit with Russia and the EU country. I'm not going to mention it. They showed a picture the other day to saying, "Look at the carnage. Russia had bombed it." There was a car on fire in a square, and I'm thinking, well, what they're saying it's ruined this community, and there was a car burning, and it's making you think that it's all happened.
Did you see the background where the windows were perfectly intact?
Yeah, do you know something? I realised that very early on, Cheetah, with this like current conflict over there. It's almost like, oh, you beast! You know, have some of that. Whereas Russia, like, have got enough artillery to go in there and wipe them off. It's like it's so fake. It's unreal.
Never going to happen. I've got
videos
videos out on my channel that America built up Russia, put all the telecommunication systems in, and it took them 50 years. Do you really think they're going to be at war with them? And Russia flies a double eagle, and America flies a single one. So there you go. They work for the same people.
They all work together. They all work together, all of them.
Yeah, so they tell them this, they tell us this, they tell the Americans this, they tell everybody something different. I just, when you work out how difficult it is to lie, I'm exhausted just working out what they've done to lie. You know, the truth is far more better than the lies.
But this is the thing. Do you not get to a stage where you're just like, I actually don't care anymore? Like, I've got to the stage where I literally don't care because nothing is truthful, like, that's coming out from the official narrative. Even they're now beginning to introduce alternative news like GB News and, you know, I think it's called the Reclaim Party or whatever. These alternative news journalisms are all controlled by Ofcom, meaning that they don't have they don't really have freedom to say what they truly believe in relation to any current affairs.
It's all controlled, isn't it? All of it, the whole of it is all controlled.
So it's like this. It doesn't matter if you want to go and try and find something alternative. You switched off from the BBC, ITV News outlets, and all these lying corporations, but they then introduce new alternative things, and people just don't acknowledge that it's the same bloody people. Just instead of seeing them in a studio, you're seeing them.
We don't believe the narrative, right? So we already got the suspicion in our brains. But a lot of people do believe it and don't see it. Don't see what's going on.
No, I don't even think it's that. A lot of people don't trust the official narrative. They really don't trust the official narrative. But it's at a stage where they're just like, I don't care. Like, as long as I'm living my life and doing what I need to do to survive for myself and my family, I don't care. This is where they're at. Because they're waiting for an alternative system or something alternative that's better that they will just jump on. No one wants to do the hard work of creating a new system.
I wish. The new system will make many problems because the old system runs our food, runs our planes, runs our ships, runs our cars. The old system and all the corporations run this system. Well, I want it to go. I want a new system. I want one where we've got I'm not into politics. I'm not into politics, but something that's got what we refer to as like democracy. I want something like that. We are not in that right now. We're in totalitarianism.
It's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. Never going to happen. I mean, do you remember we see that video, Karen? I think I was down at yours, and it's like this guy went to all the different news channels in America, and every single news channel had the same script, literally almost word for word. So it's obviously come from a hierarchy above, right?
Say there's 2,000 TV stations. It's owned by 5 people, so that's why they all get the same message.
They'll get the same script. They'll get the same scripts, all of them.
I mean, that is
all
awful,
regulated.
isn't it?
You have to remember.
You have to have separate companies owning the news. You don't just want one or two owning it all and sticking the news out because that's just one narrative.
But the thing is, even if we have 10 different owners for the news outlets, right, they're still all regulated by one government body, Ofcom. Well, the UK's Ofcom. I don't know what America would be. So this body, this agency, have control and absolute say-so as to what is said. And the perfect example was when the Queen died. Every single news outlet, TV station or anything that we were able to view was documenting the Queen's death or funeral, whatever you want to call it. And that just shows you that what was it? They had to do. Was it 2 weeks? They had to document the whole thing.
I think it was 14 days. I got the Metro one of those days, Asita, and do you know something? She was on every single page. It's like nothing else happened in the world. Even the sports page. The sports page.
That's what I'm saying. Every single one of them. That just shows you who are regulated by Ofcom, the government body. So, and if you have a look at their background and see who's regulating them, and if it shows us Ofcom, then you know that they're controlled. There's nothing that they're freely giving you that's factual. Nothing at all. So,
well, the next march I want is outside the BBC.
give up for the BBC. They're not going anywhere anytime soon.
We need them gone. They're the ones that are running it.
Karen, you actually thought like the old girl died a couple of years ago, didn't you?
Mm. What it
But
was
you
is I
think
went
so?
to London to a march, an earlier one, and we were walking round, and I was with Marilyn then, and we had to go and put something in. We were going to 10 Downing Street, and then we walked past Buckingham Palace, and one of the plaques was missing. And some of these foreign TV companies were filming the people the other way, and I'm thinking, I went up to one and I said, "Have you noticed there's a plaque missing and all the windows are all blanked out? I said, shouldn't you be pointing the camera that way?" And they said no, and they couldn't even film because they'd started to film and then they're not sure if they could legally do it, so they had to stop to see if they could legally film in the park. Opposite, outside Buckingham Palace, there's a park in the front. And, yeah, it was all weird. But anyway, what it is I just thought, my feeling was, she's gone. And what it is
Well,
I
I
hadn't
think-
realised how important the gates were. I mean, everybody put Diana's stuff on the gate. They put the death of the Queen on the gate. So the plaque not being there for weeks on end, I think anybody in the know would have known she'd gone then.
I think they left before that, if I'm being truthfully honest, because you've
Black
broken down
eyes.
videos.
The black eyes.
Well, it's not just that. You've broken down videos where a lot of these, the footage that they're showing us isn't even. They're not there. If that
Yeah,
makes
like
sense,
Kate,
it's
for
like a
instance.
green.
Last year, Kate there was the Troopy of the
Yeah,
Colours,
yeah,
it was the
but-
Queen's birthday, whatever it was, and Kate, half her nose had gone.
Yeah.
And then in the carriage, when it was to the Queen's, the thing she had earlier, when she was wearing the laurel suit, the Jubilee, it wasn't even Kate in the carriage. It was someone else. It was an actress.
Mm.
So, yeah,
Same.
and then when I've slowed footage down, I love the camera flashes, because once it flashes, there's other people underneath the pictures. And this is
Wow.
what I'm saying. What an effort to lie to us. Let's get a
Well,
picture.
the thing is,
We'll take that bit when
That's
those
the
people go
structure.
to Downing Street, and then we'll stick Trump and his wife over the top. What an effort to lie. It's just such an effort.
But it's
But
not
do you,
an
think,
effort.
do you think like they just can't spot it? Because a couple of years ago, you could see it was a crisis actor like playing the Queen, and the old boy downstairs said to me, "Here, gal, you got to go and get that thing that everyone's getting because the Queen is just on the TV." I said, "It ain't her." I said, "You can see a mile off." But, we can see it as clear as a bell, like, and I just think these people just can't see it. It's just, they really, really can't see it. It's not part of their reality because
But
you
what
can see.
it is we're brought up with the television. That's where we're learning nearly everything. And people believe it. And then they can't believe that that's a lie.
But the thing
It's a
is,
two-dimensional image. It's a two-dimensional. Now, do you know something? You know what a lot of people were saying? They're saying, like, when you remember the platinum sort of like Jubilee celebrations, she was only ever seen once, like, on the balcony. Now, she had mobility issues. Well, I don't think that's an excuse because she walked up to sort of like the current Prime Minister, like, with a walking stick. Why couldn't she have gone in a wheelchair? It doesn't make sense to me. If that was the reason, it was mobility. That is an excuse, isn't it? I mean,
you know what it was called when the last 3 years, and that means crown. So to me, I just thought, right, they've been getting ready to change everything for Charles, and they needed us not to be locked in our houses so that we could see the whole funeral and the whole thing. It had to be done in a certain way, and that's another reason why I think she died a few years ago.
Do you think
sorry.
I was going to say, with Charles now, but here's the point, he's not even really king. Because have you noticed they're not addressing him as King Charles III? Like, they're supposed to call him King Charles III. They're not addressing him as that. Have you seen the footage when they
Charles?
So, alright. You know when he was getting, is it inaugurated, or when they swear him into power, whatever.
Well, he just becomes what it is. He just becomes when supposedly the Queen died, he just became king. He's not being instated until June next year. That's when the ceremony is to make him king.
But the Parliament held something. I'm going to have to send you the footage of this. But Parliament held something where they were swearing their oath to King Charles, but they didn't address him as King Charles III. They said to King Charles, the original king. He was the last king, true king, of England. Every other monarch after that has been...
yeah, they've all been illegitimate for a start.
Yeah, there's something to do with the Stone of Destiny and, something to do with the Scots and... so yeah, they didn't address him as King Charles III. It was King Charles. So
that is a bit weird, isn't it?
Yeah, so I have a funny feeling this is just my personal...
It's all a game?
It is a game anyway, we know that.
It's a big game.
This place is a game, but I think all of this is leading up to, even the governments, it needs to be dissolved. We need to be so fed up with the...
it always happened the other day, didn't it? When the chance, it was all over the news. People were saying she's going to have to go. She keeps making mistakes. She's only just become Prime Minister, and she's making...
I know, but this is...
Chris Whitty, that is. Even Asita saw that one. Chris Whitty.
Like, listen, if they were stood side by side, they look like siblings. Twins, actually.
People still they still believe in politics, and Jacob Rothschild said, about 100 years ago, he said, I don't care like who's running the country as long as I'm running the money. And I mean that's how it's always, but it doesn't matter who's in power, because the people that are running the money, they're running the show. It's as simple as that. Nothing's ever going to change.
Yeah, but in order for them, I remember when I first woke up to all this deception back when I was 20, and one of the main things was the NWO. New World Order. I remember always saying there's a New World Order coming, and blah blah blah. And this is almost 20 years ago, which is we're here now. It's here.
I think
actually
it's
here in our
been here
faces.
since probably the 1920s, the New World Order, when the Queen was...
I think since 1913, when they beat in the Federal Reserve.
When
it's been around since about 19...
Yeah, but then they still had to... But on the surface level, for us normies, they had to show that we were divided, because otherwise it wouldn't work. But now they're trying to bring it to the surface and say, look, we don't need individual governments. Do you know what I mean? They're even talking about going back into the EU
Charles
again.
Is head of
make your fucking mind up.
Charles is head of New World Order.
Yeah, but in order for all of this to happen, you need to dissolve the structure that we have for politics here and for the governments that are running the show. That needs to be dissolved first.
Well, they do things in a way, because what they said was the Queen didn't own Buckingham Palace anymore, but the monarchy did. Well, she was the monarchy, so it hadn't really changed. They just changed it legally.
Yeah, but we were voting in a party to run us, not the monarch to run us. Right. Does that make sense? Even though, so that needs to be dissolved to have a central government.
I find really weird is that, they told us that Victoria basically gave all her powers away and a government was formed, and then they dealt with everything. But the Queen, we'll use the Queen because we haven't seen much of Charles yet, but the Queen opens Parliament, And right now, the new Prime Minister is having weekly meetings with Charles, that they said on the news, whether it happens in reality or not. But in that case, he has a right thumb in politics. They said that they didn't, but they do. They run it. Without the Queen, you can't, or the royal family, you can't open the Houses of Parliament.
Well, think about it. Look at what Charles has been involved in the last 3 years. He's been going up to these summits all over the place, representing England and any other sovereign country that England seems to own. So what is his involvement with these other big
Because he runs
heads?
it. He's in charge of it all.
He's not in charge. There's no way. Like he gets poked and bossed around by all of these other corporate.
The monarchy runs everything. The United
He's
flag, the United flag runs everything, and that's the monarchy here. So the monarchy run everything. But I don't quite know where the media sits. Are the media above them or below them? Because the media show the politics and all that. So
even the monarch, they're nothing in comparison to some of these big families that come from Italy.
Like the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds and whatever, yeah.
Even bigger names than them. Even the names that we don't hear about are the ones that are controlling.
Exactly.
You'll never hear them.
The ones that we can't hear.
Every now and again, a name will get slipped,
They run the show.
or a video will get slipped of these people. Like it was, what's the name of those two really weird-looking twins from France that bailed out France when they were going into a recession? It was a quick clip. I've never seen these two people before, but they were on the news. I'll try and find that and send that to you as well.
Had you ever seen the Prime Minister before a couple of months ago? Now she's Prime Minister. Where did she come from?
Yeah.
Oh, Chris Whitty.
Chris Whitty got sacked.
Yeah, Chris Whitty got sacked, and then she's in there. But we've only heard of her for a few months, and she was Prime Minister.
I know. I've never
amazing,
seen her face until she became Prime. I was like, who the fuck is this? Where do you come from?
Yeah, when she just spring up from it, she just suddenly appeared.
Yeah,
I mean,
Chris
they said
Whitty had
that
died. Chris Whitty had been pushed out, and she came in.
But you know something? No one ever questions it. No one ever questions it, do they? They just sort of like go along with it.
I'm so pleased that
amazing. They can do anything
that
they
one
want.
though, and realised that they were very alike, like they were brother and sister. So that cannot be. And he failed as Chris Whitty. He's going to fail as the Prime Minister, then, isn't he?
And I think this is why a lot of this normalization for this transhumanism and gender. Like, listen, I'm not homophobic. I'm gay, lesbian. And, I've accepted that about myself. But I'm not the sort of person that goes out and shoves it into people's faces. I don't feel that I need a banner. I don't feel like I need to make my, sexual identity known to the world and, for everything in society to change around me. That's not what I feel. And if anything, I feel so uncomfortable, especially this past year, with this agenda being pushed and shoved down people's throats. It's like, I don't know, it's where can I hide? That's how I feel every time I go out. And I think it's because of
because you might, for you, Asita, you might think, I really fancy her, and find out it's a him.
No, it's not even that. It's
so weird. It's just so weird they've done all this. I don't understand. But we've had times like that. We've had eunuchs and things.
But everyone is questioning everything. They're like, oh, is that person a boy or girl? Like, it's like that.
I think girls make better men than men make girls, because all a girl has to do is basically get some hormones and grow some hair and do some workouts, and their voice drops, and you'd never know the difference between if they were a man or a woman. But quite often, men are still men when they're women, very often.
What I don't get is when they...
Not all of us.
Are you sure, Gary? We could put a wig on you.
Yeah, he's definitely a man. Come on.
No, but I get what you mean. Don't get me wrong, there's some men that can pull it off. You can't even tell. You would not be able to know until you got into bed with that person.
But there's less of them, because, if you put, say you put on Jerry Springer, and it's so obvious when the girlfriend goes, I got something to tell you, I'm a man. And you think, you can see that before they even said it, but they've convinced the other person they're a woman.
I know.
I don't get it, because very
Well,
often you can tell a man is a man, even when it's a woman, but I think less when a woman is a man. I think it's less harder to... they show you pictures and you see them and you think, wow, you'd never know that had been a woman.
But how many do we have in politics? So we've got, Big Mike is the most obvious one. Good old Obama's. Then we've got, what's the Canadian?
Justin Trudeau.
Yeah. Do you see the
rumours?
So basically, we're just looking at...
It's been patched.
My mum was on the stage. My mum was on the stage. It was full of people like that, and that's what it is, a stage.
Mm.
So what were you saying, Gary?
I said that there's rumours that it's Fidel Castro's son.
Really?
Because Pierre Trudeau is meant to be his dad, but apparently his mum had an affair with Fidel Castro, and he does look. If you superimpose, you'd have to do that one, Karen. If you put the faces together, apparently it looks very much like Fidel Castro. Yeah, supposedly.
Oh,
wow. Putting it together, isn't they? I mean, it's no different. It's no different. I mean, the Bay of Pigs and all that. It's
anyway,
more bleeding rubbish.
Sorry, if you watch Sparky Lee, he's a channel, I don't know if you've heard of him, Asita, but he shows you that quite often, that they're an actress and they're playing a part of a royal family, and some of them are men and some of them are women, and they're mixing and matching them. It's all just absolutely crazy. But I think they're doing it all on a computer.
Well,
it's all a bunch of cartoons. We don't watch anything real. I break them down. I even did one yesterday of this bus journey in London in the 1930s, and when you stop the back of the bus on the pitch, you can see that they're totally different perspectives and that the buses are all superimposed on. So what is this person doing? Are they trying to make money or a fake history?
Well, they've always been trying to fake.
That's what it's all about. It's all about deceiving us all the time. We've got to make... And they can't go back on the lie now, can they? Because... when you think George Washington was George III, and then he got a corporation to the UK and they call it independence. It's crazy.
Yeah, I remember that video you broke down.
It's all absolutely crazy. Everything is the other way round.
But it's how they operate. They have to work with everything in reverse and opposites. Good and evil, dark and light. But they just operate off a lower vibration and frequency. They've chosen their gods, and they know who their gods are.
I mean, with what they're doing, it's quite surprising that there are any nice people left at all, to be honest, because, how can there be nice people when they're funneling you and doing that to you? But I suppose, when you see what they're doing, like prescriptions are often to dumb you down. Everything's, you don't realise even the food's probably got that in to dumb you down. Everything's to dumb you down. And you watch the television, you become a zombie.
We have good people within the system. It's just they're doing their bit that they can.
They never get anywhere, though.
No, but they do what they can within their limited capacities, because it's better to have at least some good people in there helping individuals out where they can than to have none at all. Otherwise, we definitely would. If we didn't have these. I'm not going to call them entirely brave, because they should be doing a lot more.
But... You mean like lobbyists?
No, not even that. I mean, we have individuals within the system in various places, various occupations, that do what they can to help society, to help, individuals in their own capacities. You have to remember, if they were to go out loud by themselves, they're going against the beast, and they'll just be knocked out every single time.
You told me about one. I don't know if you want to talk about it. Remember the David Icke bit? Do you want to explain that or not?
I mean, what is there to explain? It's David Icke.
No, but what you were saying was that you were there, and then everything was happening, and you felt that
we talk about the rallies.
Yeah,
The rallies.
Yeah.
So there was quite a few protests, like big rallies that we had in Trafalgar Square. Where we were stationed, and then we had like a little march afterwards. I can't remember the date per se, but this was the beginning of 2021, around about that time. Actually, no, there's two. There's two different rallies. Let me just correct one. So the original one is, I believe, the 19th of September. David Icke was speaking. He was one of the last people to speak before this German doctor.
And he's the one that's been making the internet right now. That German doctor.
I was there. I think was it were we at that one, Karen? Can you remember? I think we were
I
at that
went
one.
to that one. Oh, right, yeah, that was that one. What in where the lions are? That one.
No, but it wasn't. Yeah. It wasn't on that side. Instead, they decided to have the stage where the steps were. They didn't have it.
Oh
no,
Trafalgar Square. I was thinking of.
It was still in Trafalgar Square.
Right, in the middle it was.
Yeah, no, it was still in Trafalgar Square, but there was one where they had it on the lion statue end, and then there's another that they had on the steps as you head in towards the museum.
They dragged away a doctor, didn't they? They dragged the doctor away because he got up and started talking, and afterwards they arrested him because he was just making the truth. That's all.
That's the day that I'm talking about, but the stage was actually on the steps. So I managed to get into the little press area because they cornered off a section for the press this time around, and I thought, oh, cool. So I'm sat there. There's a couple of mainstream journalists and alternative journalists there. We have our speakers going through. Ike Sam spoke as well. A couple of other individual people from the movement. We're talking about their experience, and then David Icke comes on. He, does his speech, and then it's almost like he said something that was a code word. I can't remember word for word what it was, but it was towards the end of the speech. And all of a sudden, I just looked around, and the mainstream press got up at the same time and left the area. They left the area. And I just thought, that's really fucking weird. Where are you guys going? Ike got off the stage. The doctor came on the stage. And then within a minute, you can just see in the background TSG. You can see people starting to scramble. They're like, TSG's coming in. People are starting to panic. So if you can't tell me that was not a planned stig. David Icke would have had to have known that the police were going to come in, and he had to say something in order to alert specific people in the crowd or the mainstream media get up and leave.
Trigger word, yeah.
If it was just one or two were leaving, and then a couple of seconds later another couple were leaving, I'd be like, okay, maybe something's going on. But they all got up simultaneously, like literally grabbed their equipment. They didn't put it in a bag. They just picked up their equipment and walked out of the area. So there was enough time. There was enough time given between Ike ending his speech and the doctor coming on before TSG came on for them to leave the scene. So none of them were hurt.
Makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, I've even been spoken with individuals who said they've seen, Ike acting really weird in a car park.
I tell you what,
I
was always iffy about him, but then I came across this video where he was supposed to be out in America somewhere, and you can clearly see the whole thing's a green screen. He's one of them.
And he's been photoed with Jimmy Savile. Yeah, he talks about the elites and all these royal families, because he came out years ago.
It's hard to believe
he's been photographed with Jimmy Savile.
Yes, Jimmy Savile, and
he was a sports reader, wasn't he? That's how he started out.
And he started out.
He was a goalkeeper first of all.
Not just sport.
Yeah, there you go.
Both.
Yeah.
So he's back.
Yeah, you don't get the job as a newscaster, do you? Like, unless you're sort of like somewhat working for the other side. You're not going to be. You've got to certainly be part of their sort of like system to a certain degree. You're never going to get a job as a newsreader, otherwise, are you? Never.
If you were really going out and you were really talking to people, you wouldn't be on a green screen.
No, but I think like him and what's the other one? Russell Brand. All of these so-called. I don't even know what to call them, but guys that have enlightened us to these evil entities. They only ever give you so much truth. They will take you to a certain stage, and then once you've comprehended all of the crap, there's nothing else from them. They just literally tell you and stick to the same narrative.
One of them because, I saw many
Who?
pictures. Russell Grant. He's married. He was married to Katy Perry. We know that. We don't even know what sex or the whole thing with her, him, whatever
Russell
it
Brand.
is. And Russell Grant. Sorry, I said the wrong person. And then every picture he had taken. Is that who you were talking about?
Yeah, Brand, the guy with long hair.
Sorry, yeah. And then every
Brand,
picture he had taken of with Katy Perry, his head was in her hair. So all over the media, it's all lies. They had all these pictures of them together. They weren't real. And I did a video on Katy Perry. All Katy Perry's boyfriends were in her hair. Their nose was in her hair. It's so bizarre. So she's one. He's got Russell Brand has to be one.
Yeah. Some people think Katy Perry is that Jo Beth Williams, a little girl that went missing. You know, the one who used to go to all these events made up. Like they thought it was disgusting. A lot of people, like, they used to have these little kiddies events, like, and they made up all the little girls and all that. And apparently, a lot of people say that's her. So basically, she's just playing another role now. So that was probably all fake.
I think she's an AI. I watched a video where she just.
She does seem strange, the way she moves and all that. She's not.
No, but when she was on stage, she was just walking, and then all of a sudden she just collapses like a freaking robot and starts like freaking out.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, she collapses.
Yeah, I don't think she's.
She said sorry, master, as well. Do you remember that? She said sorry. She said sorry, master. I've run out of energy or something like that.
Yeah, it's weird.
I think it's really weird that I put videos out and I think, God, I hadn't realised Johnny Depp, for instance, matched into so many people. You've got there's just so many. I can't even think of their names right now. But
he's a really good actor. He can play so many roles. That guy, he's a very good actor, talented. But again, everything's just a stage. Everything's fake. That's why I can't tune into it, because once you've taken your mind past that line and you've accepted it, it's like
once you see it, you can't go back.
Yeah, and it's very difficult to even go back and interact with normal people. Like, when I say normal, I mean, those that aren't, like, they're awake, but then they still participate in this matrix. They still support this whole system. They still believe in these celebrities and elites and stuff. So they're busy, telling me stuff and, have you seen what this person did? And I'm like, who? I don't, because my mind knows that there's a bigger deception than what they see. So you're seeing that person, and I'm thinking like, yeah, but is that who it is, or is it someone else? So I've just completely switched off from all of it.
Yeah, I wish that I didn't have to make those videos anymore of the black-eyed people, but once I see it, I'd make a video about it, because they've got black eyes. There's no way. If you've got blue eyes, you can have black eyes, unless you're a computer, cartoon. And that's all we're seeing. And a lot of these people have blue eyes, but they don't. They have black eyes. When do you see Charles with blue eyes? When did you see Biden with blue eyes? When did you see Trump with blue eyes? It just goes on. When did you see the Queen with blue eyes? It's just hard. I find it hard to believe that that's what they're doing. I mean, even though that's what I say they're doing, as a part of me that thinks, oh my God, the lies is just to lie like this. I mean, obviously, there was a video out just before all this happened a few years ago, and they were explaining that in the 60s, this guy went for an interview. I'm sure everybody's seen it, and then he gets taken to a room and shown, we're making the news 3 years in advance. And that is what they're doing.
Donald Pleasance, that was.
Yeah, Donald Pleasance, that's right. And what it was, I got into the Watts case. You two didn't, I don't think. But in the end, I started off by supporting, because everybody was being quite horrible about Shanann. And then by the time Facebook and the police documents came out, I went the other way, because I could see it wasn't real. But what it was is Amy's daughter said there's something wrong, because Shanann's not in the right era. Look at the clothes and the hair. It's like 2000s. And then I can't even go, because I'd love to explain it all, but YouTube wouldn't like it, so I won't. But anyway, so we realised by that case in 2018 that that's what they were doing. So that's why the Tsar of Russia was the King of England and was Hitler, because they made the videos about 10, 15 years in advance. That's why his equipment looks so old and silly. And then, of course, 20 years later, things would have moved on a bit, well, what they're using in the army and all that. And then they used him in the Second World War, but he was probably filmed for the First World War, and they changed their mind, because that's what they do. They don't care there's 10 years difference in the footage. They don't care.
But that's why you always see a lot of the glitches as well, because it's not live.
I saw one yesterday.
Amy's
Amy's been watching one where this woman's got cancer, and she asked me to look at it. So I slowed the footage down, and the first thing I noticed is that everybody that's behind her is slightly blurry. And then when I slowed it down, he jumped from one side to the other. 1 minute he was on one side, and then it just jumped, and he was on the other side. So I said to Amy, it's not real. And that person gets 50, 60, 30, 70,000 people watching her videos. So imagine how much money she's making for a green screen.
I mean, putting the money aside, online, everything online is just changed in comparison to, like, pre-2017, I would say. Internet was a beautiful place. Like, it was free. You could go on
And you
Google,
could say more
YouTube.
or less what you wanted to say then.
You can say anything you want. You can't now.
You get shot now, or Facebook jail now for just... I mean, I've not been in Facebook jail, but I know a lot of people who are constantly in it. It's like they'll come out of Facebook jail, within 24 hours they're back in Facebook jail for 3 months. And it's like, what's the point even having your platforms? Like, just...
That's one reason I don't really like Facebook. I go there to put my links out and to my group, and even struggle to do that because YouTube takes such a long time to make videos and everything. So even if I don't really want to be a part of them, I'm on them. But I don't go to Facebook that much because I don't... You put a post out and then someone gets really leery and you think, if you'd understood what's going on, no one's going to be leery because we all want something different than what we've been given. So when you get all leery, it just shows that person isn't as awake as they think they are, or they're trolls.
Well, I don't mind. I mean, people can have their opinions. It doesn't make it a reality.
No, you can have your opinion, but they get really rude and nasty, and you think, oh, it just turns me off.
But I know, but it's their intention. It really is their intention. But once we have to remember that we are past this deception that they're all waking up to, or trying to puzzle. We're already on, what is this place? How, we're already, until the Rona came along, we were on a mission, we were on a path to rediscover ourselves and rediscover this place.
We're
and then
trying to stop that, didn't it, a bit?
Lockup came along, everyone got locked up, well, those who decided to willingly lock themselves up. That came along, and it's just been nothing but BS propaganda and lies and deception like I've never seen before.
I just think that's utter abuse to make sure that we were in our houses for 3 years. I mean, you could almost look back at it and say that we were at war, because that's the kind of conditions they had when you were at war.
Yeah, but it was luxury at least. I don't know any kind of war where
it was a bit weird. It was a bit of a weird time. I do.
Not a shot being fired either. There was no shots fired.
Not a single shot. We can say a different shot was fired. No,
I think part of it was to keep us sort of apart, to be honest with you. But
the moment everybody's starting to wake up, they'll want to stop it, won't they? Once you wake up, they've got to do all these other things to try and mask up the fact that the people are waking up.
But the thing is, it don't make any odds, because I think the people that are going to be awake now are pretty much awake. I mean, I don't go down our part anymore. I did go on the Global Eye tour up to Cambridge, but I'm not going down our part for a simple reason. I just think you're pretty much flogging a dead horse now, because everyone would have heard about the things we're talking about, and by now, it would ripple down to everyone. So I honestly, Asita, I can't see the point in it anymore. I really can't.
And I just feel it's like we're echo chambering just the same narrative, and so I can't repeat myself again for another year, let alone a month.
Yeah.
I just can't do it.
Yeah. I think a lot of people have had enough Guys, I think a lot of people have had enough of it all. Politics, the whole thing, they've had enough.
Well, this is where...
So basically, I did a video when Boris was supposed to have won with an 80-seat majority, and he was a little diddy thing in the middle of the road with this great big 17-foot reporter next to him, the camera that is, and then this little Diddy Boris. So you know he didn't win with 80-seat majority, and I just don't think a lot of people have voted. I don't really know anybody much who votes.
Nobody voted Liz Truss because nobody knows her.
Yeah.
Where did she just come from? She just appeared. She's like an NPC from nowhere. Like, you know, no one bats an eyelid. Where did she just come? She just appeared from out sort of like the war or something. It's amazing, really.
They
because,
all knew
you know,
who she was because she's Chris Whitty. But yeah, she appeared as a woman out of nowhere.
She came out of the vortex of space.
But that's why Sheeta's right. It's all cartoons. And they make it years in advance. And I mean, I realised that when they showed Trump walking down the streets of America, but when I broke the video down, he wasn't doing it. So everybody just assumes, I saw Trump, I saw him because they only saw it on the television. And I think that's the mistake. You know, like when the Academy Awards happens, only the actors go to it. When there's Buckingham Palace thing, only the actors go to it. We don't go to any of these things, and they're saying, "Oh, we're live" and all that. It's all pre-recorded. It's all just rubbish.
And then the only realistic thing they got out of the Queen was queuing up to go see the empty coffin. Because they didn't see anything else, did they?
No, and it was all set out as a masonry. I put a video out. This guy did this video showing a Mason burial, and it was exactly the same as what we were looking at in that church.
I mean, you know, all these people.
Why not just tell us the truth?
Like,
she was a Mason. Why not tell us she was a Mason and she had a Mason burial? Why not tell us?
They changed instead.
What about that video I sent you over, Karen, about that guy that he was standing in a mile like, and he was saying to people, you know, what did she actually do for you? You know, don't worry about what she do for you. And I mean, no one can answer it. Nobody can answer it. I mean, my mate was a black cab driver.
For many years. It is a little bit strange that there's no Elizabeth anymore. You know, we've lived in the Elizabeth reign from birth. We have.
He said my mate was the cab driver for 25 years, and he said he can't recall ever once dropping someone at Buckingham Palace. It's not in the top 25 or 50 places that people go and view anymore in London. You know, they go to the Tate Modern and all these kind of places. But I don't know. Yeah, I mean, you know, answer that question. What did she actually do for you personally? Did she sort of like stop with the homelessness in this country? I know her hands were tied, like,
well,
and
she
couldn't
did do
that.
something,
But
Gary,
you know,
because when she was crowned, she turned England into a corporation. That's what she did.
that's what it was.
I thought that was Margaret Thatcher.
Oh, Mrs. Thatcher's her cousin.
They're all cousins and nephews and nieces.
I
and
couldn't believe it when I saw her
brothers and
cousin.
sisters.
I thought, oh my God, that's Mrs. Thatcher. So I did a video about that. It's just sick, isn't it? It's sick that whenever you see someone, the only one I never really spotted again was the Queen. I didn't see her playing anyone else. But Princess Anne looks like Lady Campbell.
Really?
It's just like she's just a tarty version of.
She does, yeah.
A tarty version.
Yeah,
of
she
Princess
does.
Anne. She's got pink and all this on. Princess Anne doesn't wear pink, but they look very alike, and it's like, whoa! It's like madness. I think it's madness.
But isn't that because they tend to inbreed, whatever you want to call it?
Yeah, they look alike because they're all inbreed.
You know, you have to remember, all the actors are in bands as well. They've all got double roles. God, they were so busy. But I suppose most of it's made for you as program. You know, like the Beatles or the Bee Gees. And
have
so
you seen that,
the whole thing was made for you. Like, they told you. They did it with the Monkees. That was a band made for the television. So they've already told you what they're doing. Everything is just about making money. So it's all. So when they're, for instance, you know, like Styles, he now is an actor. He was in a big band, and now he's an actor. They go from one
you
to
mean
the
Harry
other.
Styles?
Harry Styles, yeah. They go from one to the other. But they probably aren't playing anything. I mean, I've watched so many videos when Madonna comes out or whatever. It's all recorded, and their voices don't match the recordings. So you're not really watching anybody sing either. And we already had those twins. Do you remember that they got done because it wasn't them singing? They had to give their award back in the 80s or 90s.
Vanilli or whatever they're called.
I don't know who they are.
Vanilli.
So really, they're telling you what's going on, and we're stupid people. We don't. you know, oh, we must be blind. We watch it and then it goes in and out, and you don't realise that that's what they're doing all the time. I mean, have you seen like Johnny Depp now? He's won his court case, and who's he playing with? He's playing with famous people in a band.
But the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard case was there it was running alongside the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. So that trial never even got any media coverage until it was finished, and it was the quickest trial I've ever come across.
Yeah, you find this. We had one after the Watts case we were waiting for, and they did exactly the same. They did it all behind the scenes, because I think people have woken up and see that there's problems. I mean, with Ghislaine Maxwell, sometimes the pictures they used were Miriam... Oh, what's that older actress? Helen Mirren. It was Helen Mirren. They used her pictures as her. And I made a video about it. I said, look, it's Helen Mirren. They can put anybody they want in there, but I think once you... Because what it was is people sent me pictures and I'd go, no, they're not alike. And then I'd put the picture on the top and I'd go, oh my God. So in that picture they've got dark hair and say they're a punk player. In this one they've got blonde hair and they're into Western. And people don't see they're the same person, but they are.
That's why you have to keep making your videos.
What it is you get a contract. It says, sign your soul over to us. And what they must say is, right, we've got the 10 minutes of footage we need of you, and that makes your career, and then we're going to use that footage, and we're going to change your hair, change your clothes, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we've got our footage, thanks. And they use the footage. I mean, I had a video the other day, this guy was explaining that they could Photoshop in the 1800s. If they could do that then, imagine what they've done to us, ever since they could get a screen up.
You know Martin Leckie, Flat Thumbs? Is it British Flat Earth or Flat Earth British?
Yeah.
Know him well. I've met him.
Yeah, Welsh guy. He's showing videos exposing a lot of this stuff as well. This is going back way in the 1700s, 1800s, you know, with the cameras, and showing you that there's possibly CGI they were even using back then. Because you have to remember that these guys had modern technology way advanced than what we had. They had sidewalks that were like the
moving sidewalks.
Yeah, moving sidewalks. And I'm like, where did we go wrong in history?
But do you know sometimes
all we got is potholes and freaking massive.
Yeah, every time you see footage with buses on it, or cars, or whatever, the roads are always perfect. They don't have one hole in them.
And they had electrical scooters and all sorts of things back then. They were using technology far advanced than what we're using now.
Was it cameras or cars back to the 1700s? And it obviously goes back further than that, because you can't find the history, because Google, which is the globe, runs a web page and they take all that out so you don't see it.
That's why I really like watching his channel, because he captures, and I don't even know where he finds this stuff, but he's always finding like footage and really old photos, and he manages to correct the colours and make it more visible, because a lot of it would be low resolution.
All I see in old footage is the whole thing is made. For you.
It's all a big scam. It's a massive scam. And the biggest one is the energy, free energy, the technology that's around us that they're using and then charging us for it. It's like, are you freaking kidding me?
I work for a lady in Newbury. Her flat was built where they put these rods into the ground and they got their electricity out of the ground. And I was watching a video where they said that in the olden days, I mean, we're talking of a few hundred years ago, that's what they did. They didn't need boilers because they got everything out of the ground. And you think, how could they put pylons and all that over us when actually you can get it free from the ground? It's far more eco.
People have actually done this. They've actually put 100-foot sort of like a steel pole or a copper pole into the ground and they put electricity out of it. And I think the pylons, right? They're getting sort of like electricity from the ether. They get electricity from the ether. It's just boosted at power station. It's just boosted at power stations. That's all.
Listen, there's a guy that's on TikTok. Do you guys use TikTok? I don't know if you.
Yeah, I go on TikTok
use
a
TikTok.
bit.
Okay, there's a guy that you need to follow. I'm just going to get his name up. Bear with me a second. Now, I don't know his actual age, but he needs to be kept alive. Let's just say that much. He's managed to build like this massive retractor at the back of his garden. I'm pretty sure, a time traveler. He's not from this. Well, he's not from this generation. Put it this way. But if you type in at Doctor Parkenstein 2, because his previous channel got taken down. Guy's a freaking genius. He's basically the Tesla, the black version, the modern version of Nikola Tesla, and you'll see it's insane what he's building in his garden. I mean, he's proven to you that energy is around us.
Yeah,
it's
great that we can live, really, because we're breathing it in as well, aren't we? We're breathing in free energy.
100%. But just
everything's electric here. It's quite surprising. The trees are electric, the ground's electric, the sun is electric, the sky is electric, everything's electric. It's all electric. The moon must be electric. It's all electric.
We're one big battery. We're living in one big battery, and we're getting charged. Really, we should all be free. It's been hidden for us. Everything should be free.
This is why I love what he does, because he exposes it. He basically he's proven that his receiver coil that he's built in his garden gives you wireless electricity. He just basically turns this thing on, puts like these rods onto down on the earth or into the ether like air, and there's a bunch of people obviously following him, and they'll show you the footage of like a specific bulb or something that they've just put onto the earth, and he's basically receiver, his coil receiver is generating the energy and putting it out there, and it works. It 100% works every single time he does it. It's insane. So I just say we need to be doing a lot more experiments like this.
Yeah, because they never used to have boilers in the old days. This is why. Maybe that's why they dug all the castles and everything into the ground. Even that, I've done one on castles. This person said there was no Saxon invasion because they can't see it in cinematography from above. They did about 4 or 5 miles. And they said castles were made to store the people's goods, and the Romans, everybody lived together.
Castles were made to store goods?
Yeah, for the people.
Really?
So they were organised. They were more organised. They weren't about fighting. And they've got rooms underneath, and this is where they put all the goods. But they were down in the ground, so they could probably get electricity then, because they're in the ground anyway.
Yeah.
Tesla made Warburg Tower, and he went to Westinghouse with it and said, "Look, I can get free energy out of this thing." And apparently, it did work. This tower that he built, and they destroyed it because, of course, there's no point in going to a corporation and saying we can get free energy. They're not making nothing out of it, are they? So
they've masked everything up, Gary, because Blackpool Tower is one.
Exactly, Blackpool Tower, the Eiffel Tower. All of these big buildings, they're free energy machines. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind about it. They've been sort of hijacked, like the Eiffel Tower. I haven't been on it. I've been underneath it, but you look up at it and you can see it straight. I see it in 1990, and I thought, what a blinking monstrosity. But obviously, I realise now. At one time, it was just getting electricity out of the ether. It was getting electricity out of the ether.
It's insane.
Yeah, I think they all do.
And it's always been right in front of our faces.
I think it's a little bit difficult because you think our whole place was covered in things like this and more of the bigger buildings, and over especially the last 100 years, they've been destroying so much of it. And so we only see little bits.
It's truth in plain sight everywhere, isn't it?
I mean, we've got to realise, how could they build that thing in the time that they said, unless they were far more advanced?
But do you not think that this is probably what they're trying to do with these fake wars, is destroy a lot of the evidence?
That's what that's about. It's about destroying.
Definitely.
Well, we call it like Tartaria, don't we? It's destroying this. Yeah, it is.
So sad.
Well, I've done that. Cheater, I told you before. I've stopped. When I was working, I used to stop Polish lorry drivers, and I used to shown photographs of sort of buildings and these fabulous palaces in sort of Iran and Iraq and Afghanistan and all that, and I'd say, how was this built, and was it taken there? I said, well, obviously with mechanical machinery and with lorries. And I said, well, no, it's in the middle of nowhere. We've only had, at that time, supposedly we've been told we've only got sort of like horse-drawn carriages. And I mean, they say, oh no, Gary, they say this has been done by mechanical machinery, and it's so obvious. It's right in front of your face. You know, people never ask these questions, do they?
But do you guys know the guy Erwin or E1, whatever? He's the one who did the history of Flat Earth.
Well, is he the one who comes from like Holland or somewhere?
No, he's English.
Oh,
he's
right.
From here. He's one of us, the Brits. So he did a follow-up video about Tartaria and a lot of these buildings. And I've not watched the whole documentary because it's on Telegram and it's broken up into like a 40-minute segment. But he does a follow-up video showing you that some of these old buildings are fake. They were off a... basically, they decided to build a whole bunch of fake Tartarian-looking cathedrals and stuff to fool us into, you know, cover up a lot of the other cathedrals that show the history. But one thing that he does break down in the video is that it was masons. A lot of the fine detailing and the sculptures that were created internally were handmade as well, not by machines. They were actually handmade. I'm going to have to send you a link for that one, and I need to finish watching that documentary, but he does correct something in relation to
and also I put a video about
these things being made
about a year ago or 6 months ago when the person was making like, you know, when you look at the old buildings and you see all the casting on it, they did a lot of that by hand as well. Concrete.
So it was possible. I think they definitely did a lot of things by hand, but in the sense of, I don't know at what. I think this is where we're sort of lost with the timing of when these things. It's not that it didn't exist or it didn't happen. The Great Reset didn't happen. It's just a case of what era was it. You know, that's where we don't really know what the
time scale. When it actually happened, you know, that is the thing. We're given this narrative, like, and we don't really know. You know, everyone's clutching at straws saying it was this time and that time. We don't really know. We don't really know.
And I think that's why it's important not to just focus on, you know, the time frame of when it happened. It's important to get the factual stories and the evidence proving that it did happen. And with time, eventually we're going to figure out what era it was. But it's not. We don't need to grip onto things and, you know, have it as a factual thing.
Yeah, because we have so many eras here, don't we? I mean, we've noticed that when churches have tracks in them or have certain kind of arches in the churches, those were churches used for astrology, and that's how they started out. So some of them could be little chapels that have been turned into churches, you know, big churches over the years. But when they've got the tracks in them, they would have had a wheel in them, and they'd have been looking at the stars, and they would have been more pagan, probably.
And that's
I think they were multiple years. They had cymatics. I mean, the organs now, the organs were probably cymatics, free energy machines as well. I think they was.
Victorians still put big organs in.
Yeah. Sorry, say that again, Karen.
The Victorians were putting organs in.
Vibrations, certain vibrations, a certain frequency can sort of like cure things like cancer and whatever, and I believe that sort of like and other researchers have done a lot more research than me, but like, you know,
like
the organs are actually,
it's like having a Rife machine.
yeah, so the organs basically sort of like were used as sort of like healing machines, you know.
I actually think we're damn Victorians myself, because Sven thinks that this time round we started in the Victorian times, but because a lot of the statues, they're all Victorian, but then with Victoria here, like over time, we'll notice that the statues change from Elizabeth to Charles, if he lasts that long. But I just think the damn Victorians, because they took buildings, cladded them, and then said they were built in the 1800s when they weren't. They were built earlier, and they changed them. And in the documents, it'll say it was built in 18 something when it wasn't. It was built in 17 or 1600. And I see the damn Victorians. They've ruined everything. They covered everything up, made the churches bigger, cladded
So
them.
basically, it makes it even more mysterious. If you think like they was 200 or 300 years before we're actually been told, you know, it even makes it more mysterious as regards to like where was the infrastructure to sort of like build these places?
Yeah,
How
so
did they do
like,
it?
so
How did they move?
they moved the Victorians
How did they
in,
move
and
all
then
the
they
buildings
changed
there?
things. They moved into all these old buildings, and then they did things to them to sort of just do them up and all that kind
They
of stuff.
hijacked them.
Yeah, sort
They
of. I think.
hijacked them to sort of like make them look like they were just been built at that time. But I mean, you imagine like, so you're talking about a church that was built in sort of like the 1600s. You know, how did they have the technology? How did they move the materials there? All these things. It's like,
yeah, it's height and things, isn't
you
it?
know,
And steeples and yeah.
we're told we had horse-drawn carriages. That's all we had. So
we were
you know,
far more
impossible.
advanced than they're telling us that we were.
Oh, 100%.
I mean, even cowboys, we know that now isn't the 1800s. It was probably the 16 or 1700s. But because they can't make history, they've got to do history in a certain way. They've made it everything. They made everything different.
How do we know all these people that supposedly like lived in those times, like Billy the Kid and all that? Like, were they real puts gas in the Sundance Kid? Are they? Is it reality, or is it just like all been made up? We don't know, do we?
Most things are made up, though, aren't they? Most things are made up.
I don't even know when. I really don't even know when this whole deception started. Like what era? I know it dates back way before Egyptian times.
I think it's always happened with Chief. I think it's happened since the year dot. Since sort of like they realised the control structure. We've been deceived from day one, like, you know. Once there was a control structure, and that was it, you know, and basically some people just can't see it. Some people, I used to speak to people at Hyde Park, like, still believe in politics. They believe in everything. I mean, you know, there's some people that they watch a two-dimensional image on a TV. They'll believe anything. So, you know, you're never going to get through to them people, are you?
No.
That's why there's no point in wasting. It's like you're just wasting your time, energy, and breath on a lot of these people. So just do what you can.
I think the ones that are going to get it, now, actually, all that stuff we used to do down our part and all that. If I'm down there, I'll go down there like just to sort of like help my brothers and sisters down there. But I'm not going to make a conscious effort like to go down anymore, because all this knowledge and stuff that we're sort of like finding out is out there now. It's out there and it's sort of trickled down. And the ones that are going to get it, and they get it, and the other ones, they're never going to get it. So there's no point.
Well, I think there's a lot of people, they still want to. It's a choice. A lot of people willingly choose the ignorance. They're like, okay, yeah, so what?
They like to live in the matrix. And they don't want to. I mean, you know, there's a girl where I go like down my gym like in the cafe, and I sat down and spoke to her about sort of like the shape of the earth and another. And it actually terrifies some people. It terrifies her. She's frightened of it, you know. And I think some people like that, they prefer to live in their matrix reality, and they don't want to venture out to anything else.
But it makes it difficult because, you know, there's a guy I know, Mark, awake to a lot of stuff. He knows a lot of knowledge way before my time anyway. But he's just stuck on Flat Earth. And he's like, yeah, I know, I need to watch it. But he keeps watching all these stupid other little, you know, 2-minute clips or something proving a debate point. You know when these kind of debates, and they kind of clip them into like 2-minute teasers, whatever. So he keeps watching this, and I said, "There's no." Places where we're heading in this world, etc., etc.
There's no debate anymore. You know, like some of these sort of like channels, like it's like a flat Earth debate or globe debate. For me, there's no debate anymore. It's definitely not. I don't know where this is, but it's definitely not a globe. I know that for a fact.
Yes.
I know that for a fact. It's definitely not a globe. I don't know what else. That's what I'm at. I don't know where we are. Like water farm can't bend, like, you know, giant sort of like mountains of water, like, cannot bend. It just can't bend. It just ain't gonna happen. So for me, I'll see it straight away. I mean, I actually kicked myself. Because I thought to myself, why? But at the end of the day, we had no original fault. We were just sort of like went to school, like, just believe what we're told. But for me, straight away, I see it. You know, some people it takes a little bit longer, but the thing is, I mean, when we was down in Cambridge, like, you know, we was talking to university professors down there, might be another. Well, why didn't they all come along? We was all outside the universities. Why didn't they come along with definitive proof and say, this is the reason why? Because they haven't got no evidence. They've got no evidence at all, so they can't do it.
They can only work on their theories and assumptions in order to make it believable.
Mathematical equations, that's all it is, but it don't make it reality.
There's a brilliant, but you know what? I think, honestly, until I watched this clip, I strongly believe that a lot of these people in the military background, Navy, Army, and super elites with enough money, they're fully aware of the ice wall. They know this. I'll send this. It's not a long clip, but he's basically.
Asita, I have to say that if you believe in an ice wall is fresh water, so we're surrounded by land.
But the point of what I'm saying in this video, he's in this room basically asking for funding from these super rich people. But listen to what he's talking about, because he's talking about space supposedly, and he's bitching and moaning saying that China, you know, they're busy getting a lot of money right now going to space in order to, you know, get all these resources X, Y, and Z, and we're here clutching our hands, basically doing nothing. But every now and again in his video, he talks about. Again, remember, it's how they speak. Now, he's not talking about a spaceship going up to space. He's talking about a boat going across the lands, the water. It's in his language, in the way that he's talking, that you know that he's talking about other lands, not space and you know these other planets. I had to send it to you just so that you can edit probably, you know, into one of your videos. But again, these guys know about the other lands. These super rich people know about the ice wall, the Antarctic Treaty. They know everything.
Because there is different races of people who probably come from these other lands.
Yeah, I honestly believe, like, once you see enough of these clips, like I say, if you're not paying attention to these clips and you're busy watching all these mainstream television things, you don't ever see it, and you never comprehend what these guys are up to. What these, you know, forget the corporations and the faces and the names that we know. We're just talking about people who have money and wealth, right? They don't care about the politics of anything because they know it's a farce. They know it's BS. But what they are doing is funding and investing in projects, space explorations that are actually Earth explorations.
To be honest, we don't even know what they're doing and where they're going, do we?
We don't. No, come on, we know. We know. We've already deciphered that this place is not a globe, right? We've already looked at enough footage to build some kind of map based on a lot of the maps that we've seen in the past, proving that it's not a globe. So we'd be stupid to think that all of that knowledge is not being used. All of that knowledge is not being. They know, and it's not these super wealthy elites that are running the show. We're just talking about lower level elites that have got enough money to invest into things.
I see a video whereby there was all these multi-millionaires like sitting around, and this guy's trying to get them to invest in sort of like the next space program.
That's the one. That's the video I'm talking about. That's the one.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is, you know, just because you got money, it don't necessarily make you intelligent. Because if they are investing in sort of like space exploration, it's not a place you can go to because we don't know. You can't go up. I think there's a firmament. I don't know what it's made of, but I mean, I know. If you remember, like my little experiment down at sort of like Hyde Park, like you can't have a gas pressure living next to a vacuum. It's impossible. So you know.
That video, you've seen that video, and that's my point. In that video, he has to say space. He can't say other lands because it's a lot of people don't know about this stuff. But these people in the room, they fully are aware of what.
You think they're all billionaires, aren't they? So,
yeah, they all freaking know, but he has to talk in code word. All these elites always talk in code word. The banking system and every other corporation that works off of the, I'm not even going to call it the law, but legalese. Yeah, they all speak in code word. And that's exactly what he was doing in that room. He was speaking in code word, but again, every now and again, he would slip his native tongue in what we understand as things. So instead of saying, thrusting through the air or space or something like that, he'd be talking about a vessel going through fucking water, and I'm like, huh? Like, that's got nothing to do with space. So every now and again, he'd get excited and forget that he has to speak about space rather than.
And I suppose,
going to other lands.
It depends what space he's talking about.
Well, the space down here, not up there.
Yeah, there you go.
He's talking about not extraterrestrials, interterrestrials, maybe sort of like past the ice ball.
Forget, I don't know if you've seen in this last 10 years, we've had elongated-headed people thrust now. Brian Forrester, Marie Wheatley, they're all talking about they're here in England, they're in South America, so they've brought them in, and they're like alien-like. They only got to 5 foot. All those small bodies. You know what I mean?
Did you see the clip? There's a clip the other day, like, of another sort of like Buzz Aldrin thing that he done. Like he was speaking at a boxing match or something like, and you see the CIA handler come in and get the microphone up him, just like he did with that little girl. I think he'd had a drink, like, and he started saying like, "Oh, we're never going to space again because we never went in the first place," and all that. And all of a sudden, you see a handler come into the ring, like, and go, oh, he's having a joke here, like, but he likes having his little moment of fame, like, and have his little jokes and all that. But obviously, the handler, they're watching him like a hawk now because he's starting to spill the beans.
As they control everything, why would they let him do that and not cut that out? They didn't even that march we went on. They never even reported it.
He's an alcoholic. I mean,
yeah, but that march we went on when millions were there, or over a million. They didn't even report it. So why would they put Buzz Aldrin lying on there? See, this is part of their game.
No, but it wasn't
on. It's very strange
on
in the last couple of years that basically they're telling you that we never went into space, and that they don't have the technology anymore, and yet we've been to the moon. How could we didn't go there then, did we?
There's only a handful of the Apollo astronauts still alive. Most of them, like Gene Cernan and Neil Armstrong and Michael Collins, they've all passed away. I think he's one of the last ones. Out the original bunch, Buzz Aldrin, like, is one of the last ones. The rest of them, as far as I know, almost all of them are all dead now. They've all passed on. So is it going to come?
They're living a different life as different admirals.
Yeah. And they're lying, and that's why they're alcoholics, because they've lied. They can't cope with their life, so they're alcoholics.
Yeah, but that doesn't excuse like the current batch, like the ISS, like, because I'll give you that famous book, didn't I, Karen, like, of Tim Peake. Do you remember? You still got it up on the wall there.
Ask an Astronaut.
Ask an Astronaut. We've done a whole show about it. Like, I literally demolished it, like, in a 2-hour show. So it's still going on now, and you see this guy down the Science Museum, and he's being questioned by all these young kids, like, and for me, it's child abuse.
Do you know what I don't see? I put the video out a couple of years ago, and I've put it out a couple of times, because now, when you get NASA are planning to look after here. They want to do planes, they want to do local government, you name it, NASA wants to be part of it. Well, they didn't conquer up there, so why is it down here? And then when you look at their footage now, it's got... Oh, my goodness, people are ringing me. Hang on, sorry, someone rang me. When they're doing the footage... Oh, I've lost my throat now. What were we talking about?
Your mic's gone weird.
Yeah, sorry, I got a phone call. What were we talking about? That's just thrown me off now. Oh, yeah.
NASA and all the fake footage.
Yeah, they've got on there... it's a research centre, and it's to do with mind control, and it's on the bottom of any video with NASA now. How could somebody going to space be into mind control? Come on, wake up, everybody!
Well, this is why some people in our community actually think that the astronauts think they've actually been to space because they've been MK Ultra'd and they actually believe it. They actually believe it themselves because they've been mind controlled. I personally don't go along with that. I don't go along with that myself. But
what they did was they hypnotized them, put the Quest VR set on their heads, and made it look realistic.
Or they're cartoons, just like the rest of them.
Nah,
to be honest with you, if you remember,
You know what
Karen, I've
happens
done
to
loads of shows.
rockets? They go up and they come down.
about the rockets. Yeah, well, basically, it's the easiest magician trick in the world. They go up the tower, wait there until the rocket takes off, and when everyone's gone home, they come back down. I mean, usually, the magician's trick is the simplest thing that you're not going to think of. I mean, I see Penn and Teller, like, they show you how these people do it, and once you see it, you think to yourself, my God, why couldn't I see that? Because you're looking at a difficult way of doing it, whereas really, usually the most simple is the answer, you know.
Can I just say that we've been going now for about an hour and 40 minutes?
Blimey, is it that long?
Can you believe that? Is Sheeta there? Is Sheeta? Is she there? Or has she dropped out?
Hello?
Is it just
I
you?
think she dropped out.
Oh no. Do you think her phone ran out of battery?
Who knows? But like you said, we've been going for 1 hour 40 minutes. It's quite a good time. I'm getting a little bit peckish myself.
She's back now.
Sorry, I didn't even know the internet just completely dropped then, and then it was taking
I'm glad
ages for me to
you
connect.
got back. But we were just saying we've been going now for about an hour and 40 minutes. Do you think that's enough? Didn't that go quick?
I can't believe it. It's actually 4 o'clock.
Yeah, it feels like we started about 10 minutes
It
ago.
goes, when you've got 3 people, it goes really, really, really quick. But when there's only sort of like me doing it with you, Karen, like, it seems to drag on forever, like an hour seems to be
Gary!
like 3 hours. No, I don't mean it in a normal way. I'm just saying, when you've got 3 people, talking about different subjects all the time, it tends to go really,
We all have
really.
different perspectives. We all live very different lives, so we've got different perspectives to bring into, the same narrative.
And we haven't chatted properly for about a year or something, so whatever it is, however long ago it was. We had a lot to say.
Before it disconnected? Were you finishing off before it disconnected?
Well, I was just saying, and then I thought I heard you blob off. It just went bloop. I thought, oh, is Sheeta gone? It doesn't tell me that you've gone, but we can finish now because we can. If you want to, we can always come back and do another one in a few months' time. I really appreciate that, and thank you for explaining your thoughts on marching. I think even you only have to look at your own community to realise that certain people have tried to take over.
Oh, 100%. And it's not to say that I will never ever support any organic rally that I come across, but I now am familiar with the faces. I'm very familiar with the energy of when something's authentic and when something isn't. And I've met enough, like, come on, we're talking about going to a rally every weekend, and even in between that, there was certain things going on. So I know the small fractures of groups that I support, and I will continue supporting. But in terms of the big main rallies, especially the London ones, I'm taking a step back, or I already have.
But I hope they realise that even if they wanted martial law and all that, to see how many people were out marching, so they know we're not happy.
And I think that's the main thing. These marches, I don't think they were ever going to make a difference. I don't think they were, not in the sense when it comes to the governments and, all these corporations, but it did bring people together. I mean, I met more conspiracy theorists in the last 3 years than I have done my whole life of looking into this deception. I met more alike people, and it built my confidence to what it is that I've been researching and speaking about. It was like pre-2020, it was like a very lonely journey. I don't know if that's how you guys sort of felt.
I concur with that. Well, you know something? I've been suffering silence since 1992 when I had this.
1992.
This episode, yeah. I had some kind of stroke or something in 1992, and I started seeing things then. But I mean, the thing is, it's a very lonely existence when, even as you're growing up as a child, like, the moon landing was like fake, and you got no one to talk to, because when you speak to people, they think you're around a twist, So you tend to sort of like bottle it all up. So the good thing with me, Asita, with these last sort of like 10 years or so, that I've met like-minded people that think like me, and also we can converse now because of social media. Like, whereas you didn't have that avenue. I mean, when I was growing up, you had landlines, and
just about had landlines.
It wasn't that. You tell people, they just think you're bonkers. I told Karen this many times. I told my uncle about 1981 that the moon landings were fake and all that, and he was thinking about getting me committed,
But
and that's
your
what
journey started even younger, because I remember you were saying this was something that you spoke up against till
9 years old.
strongly. Maybe not as strongly, but you definitely made your thoughts vocal. So we're talking. I don't know how old you are now, but you've had a very long journey with it.
I'm 62 now, so really I had a long journey. Like, no, 62, not that old.
Showing the sixes.
The thing is, like, I say, it's horrible because you have to bottle things up, and because sort of like I've met all these wonderful people like in my journey, like you, Karen, and Kat, and others. It's great because we can relate things to each other, and they don't look at you like you're mad. Because I went through the situation whereby growing up, I had no one to talk to, and it's a horrible situation to be in. It's almost gets very depressing, like, So it's great that I've got all you guys to sort of like talk to now, and all right, we don't get everything right, but we're on the right track.
It's just having
Case
a
of being
different
open.
conversation.
It's got to be a bit more open.
Yeah.
Being able to talk about it to people without them just sort of like wanting to go and get you committed, because my family wanted to get me committed about 92. They really was. It was only my mum prevented me from getting committed because I was talking about all this stuff, and you can't do it. You can't do it to normies because they just, even if they're your own family, because they. I mean, I wonder like sometimes how many people have been banged up in mental institutions like over the years when in fact they weren't mental. They were just like us.
They call you mad, but they're the mad ones for believing that we're spinning at Mach 80 into an unknown future, like, through space. Mach 80. I mean, how could you believe that it goes on and on forever? It's stupid.
Well, I was trying to. I don't know if you guys follow this Duchess guy on YouTube. He's basically this volcano predictor, and he's really good. But do you guys know about all the volcanoes and earthquakes and storms that are happening all around the world right now? It's like
yeah, but I mean, it's probably all done by weather manipulation, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, it's not even weather manipulation. This is where the star faults and the whole Tartarian stuff comes in, and even your comment about the organs playing. I have a funny feeling. Yeah, I have a funny feeling it sort of ties into all of this stuff. But anyway, so I've been paying attention to what he's been saying over the last couple of weeks, because there's a pattern with where all these earthquakes are taking place. He's a flat earther, but in one of the videos he actually professes that I actually might believe to some degree that the earth is not a globe just because of how these volcanoes are erupting in different areas. But one of the things that he's predicting is that there's going to be an earthquake hitting the south of Spain, and this is pretty much where my parents are. Now, I was trying to tell my mum, like, not anything fear-mongering. I was just like, what's been happening? How's the weather there? Trying to figure out what's going on in that region. And I said, just be cautious over the next couple of months. There's a lot of earthquakes being hit, and there's even one that's just hit the east of Germany. And she just wanted to shut down the conversation. She's like, don't tell me about this stuff. I don't want to know. And I'm like, it'll be too late. If you don't know, if you don't make yourself aware, or at least, have that in the back of your mind that is a potential, when it hits you, you're fucked. You're not prepared. And that's what I'm trying to get into her head. It's like, I'm not fear-mongering you. It might hit, it might not, I don't know. But so far, because another thing she said, the news aren't reporting it. That's one of the things she said to me.
Yeah, well, Yellowstone Park, Yellowstone, they reckon, like, you took the volcano under there, and they reckon, like, if it ever erupts, like, they reckon a large part of the United States is going to disappear altogether. And, it's like a pressure cooker down there, and basically, you know, sooner or later they reckon it's going to go. But I mean, you know,
Oh,
it's,
Wasn't there a section of Lanzarote supposed to fall in the sea and then cause a tsunami over?
No, it's La Palma.
La
What
Palma,
it is,
yeah.
La Palma is a little Canary island, and half of the island
Is dead.
is on a fault line. It's on a fault line, and they have geology.
Drop into the sea.
And they reckon if it falls in, half it falls into the sea, there's going to be a biblical wave that's going to hit the eastern border of the United States that you'd have to basically go about 200 miles inland to avoid.
I think this is why all of these earthquakes are hitting in the pattern that they are in, because it's just something that you just don't see, or I've never seen it before. So they're definitely preparing for an earthly event, a natural event, supposedly natural event anyway.
Well, we're told it's natural, but I mean, we just don't know, do we?
We're just the guinea pigs. We're just the animals, just like everyone else.
Yeah, we're all in a. It's I don't even know if I can say that we're consciously awake. Like, how do we not know that we're just having a dream? This is just a dream, or our minds are trapped somewhere else.
I feel like when you're dreaming, I have some really vivid dreams, Asita. I had one the other night where it seemed so real that when I woke up and I went and got a drink of water or went to the loo or something, I wanted to get back into the dream because it seemed better than my real life, you know.
I know. Dreams like that. I'm like, no, I just wake up, go back to dreamland. Yeah. I hear you.
Yeah, you might be right. Maybe some people think it's the reverse. They think like when you're awake, you're actually dreaming, and when you're asleep, that is your real life. I mean, we don't know anymore, do we? I don't know it. I don't know what to make of this place anymore. But as soon as you sort of like open something up and you think you've got it all figured out, you get slapped. You realise. All I know is really. We all of us know nothing. We're all like children at school because we're learning what life really is about, as opposed to like the indoctrination process at school.
Yeah, re-educating ourselves.
At the age of 30 plus. How fun is that?
Well, I'm older than you, so but whenever it came, it comes at that time, wherever old we are. Can I just say, I'm going to be a party pooper. I need to go really now.
Okay, guys.
But we have been going for, I don't know, let's have a look. We have been going for about 2 hours, so that's pretty damn good. But don't go from the conversation. We'll say goodbye afterwards. But for the hangout, very much appreciate all your information, Asita and Gary. Thank you very much for the hangout. It was brilliant. Thank you.
Wonderful. I really enjoyed it.
You guys again.
Yeah, I love you both, and we'll have to meet up. We'll have to meet up soon, Asita. That's for sure. It's been a long time.
Yeah, we'll have to go for a drink or something.
No, outside of the rallies. Let's just do something outside of the rallies.
We'll just meet up like in a social event or something. Go out for a drink with them.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, just for this hangout, but we'll say goodbye afterwards. But for the hangout, thank you very much, guys. Mwah, and chat room. Mwah.
All right, thank you, chat room. Everyone watching.
Thank you, chat room.
Bye.
Bye.